Hey, welcome to Creeper Nick. This is the first video of 2022. I hope you all had good holidays and a good new year. I know mine's going okay. I gained a little holiday weight, but that's alright. New year, new videos on this channel. I plan to release videos a lot more this year, actually, going for weekly. Alright, this story's insane with a huge twist, so that's enough intro. Let's just get into it. Here's the unfortunately true story of Elisabeth Fritzl. Our story begins in 1984. A man by the name of Joseph Fritzl and his wife Rosemarie lived in Austria. They had 3 sons and 4 daughters together. One of the daughters was named Elisabeth. Elisabeth was a bit of a wild child. In 1983, when she was 16 or 17, she ran away from home to live with a coworker, but she was eventually found and returned home. When she got home, she decided to get back into her waitress course, and in 1984 she had finished it and was offered a job at another city. But before she did that, on August 28, 1984, Elisabeth would go missing once again. Her mother, Rosemarie, would file a missing persons report, hopeful that she would be found rather quickly, like the last time that she went missing. About a month passes with no leads or updates to the case, so she's already been missing for more time than her previous stunt. This is when Joseph, her father, brings a letter to the police from Elisabeth. The letter was postmarked from a city that is about 90 minutes away from where they live. She would write that she's tired of living with her family and that she was staying with a friend. She would warn her parents not to look for her because if they did, she would leave the country. Joseph told the police that based on some of her behavior that he believes she joined a cult. Despite her threats of leaving the country if they continued searching, they still kept looking. Years later, in 1992, a 9-month-old baby girl was found on Joseph and Marie's doorstep with a note from Elisabeth asking them to look after the child, which they did. 2 years after that, in 1984, another baby girl was found on the doorstep in a pushchair. Rosemarie would shortly after receive a call from Elisabeth asking them to take care of the child. Once again, they would take in the baby. 2 years after that baby was taken in, a 15-month-old is discovered in the same manner as the previous 2 girls. Joseph and Rosemarie would raise these 3 children and continue living life for years as they had done before without Elisabeth. Then in April of 2008, 24 years after Elisabeth went missing, this family's world would be turned upside down. On April 19, 2008, an unconscious woman would be found on Joseph and Marie's doorstep. She had a note on her. It was revealed that this woman was Kirsten, Elisabeth's 19-year-old daughter, her firstborn, who she could no longer care for, the note said. So an ambulance was called and Kirsten was on her way to the hospital. It wasn't looking good, and the doctors were very concerned. One doctor in particular, Dr. Albert Reiter, noted that the girl's very pale skin and missing teeth were very suspicious. He decided to use the hospital's public relations department to reach out to Elisabeth via a big media campaign. He would go on to say that Elisabeth was needed at the hospital to provide some very important medical information, and that Kirsten's situation was getting bad. Well, the cry for help from the doctors, police, and media helped. On April 26th, so a week after Kirsten was admitted to the hospital, Joseph informed Rosemarie that Elisabeth decided to return home after 24 years. Elisabeth, along with Joseph, would show up to the hospital. When police caught wind that Elisabeth had made it to the hospital, they quickly detained her and brought her down to the police station for questioning. Once the questioning started, Elisabeth would start by saying, "No one will believe me anyway." When the police decided to change their strategy of interrogating her, instead, they started asking her if she was the victim. And she said that she would tell them everything if she never had to see her father Joseph again. The police agreed, and Elisabeth told them what really happened. On the day that Elisabeth went missing on August 28, 1984, her father Joseph needed her help. He was repurposing the family's basement. He needed her help getting the final door in place. Once she helped him and he got that door in place, he surprised her by forcefully holding an ether-soaked rag up to her face until she passed out. He would lock her in the basement, her new prison, where she would stay for 24 years. He would abuse her in unspeakable ways, over 3,000 times in that time span. The 3 children who were left on Fritzl's doorstep were indeed hers, and Joseph was the father and the grandfather. She gave birth to 7 children in total. 3 were taken care of upstairs by Joseph and Rosemary. 3 would live downstairs, including Kirsten. The 7th, unfortunately, passed away shortly after birth because Joseph refused to seek medical attention. He burnt the body. The notes that were found throughout the years were written by Elisabeth. She was forced to write them by Joseph. Joseph's wife, Rosemary, had no idea any of this was going on. When Kirsten became ill, Elisabeth talked Joseph into taking her to the hospital. Then when the media begged for Elisabeth to come forward, she talked him into letting her go. I don't think he expected the police to show up and separate them. So back to the present, Kirsten was put into a coma and eventually came out of the coma and had a full recovery. Elisabeth and all her children received the help they needed mentally and physically. They needed physical help because the ceiling in the basement was only 5'6". And some of the kids, at least, were taller than that, so they were getting problems because they couldn't stand up straight. Today, they reside in a village that hasn't been named and live as normal as a life as they possibly can. There was a little bit of tension between the downstairs kids and upstairs kids for a while, for obvious reasons, and then there was problems between Elisabeth and Rosemary because Elisabeth didn't believe that she didn't know that she was down there. But from what I've read, the kids and Elisabeth and Rosemary have patched things up and they're all good now. After a 4-day trial in 2009, Joseph pleaded guilty to the vast amount of charges, which included murder by negligence for Michael, the infant son, who didn't make it. He was sentenced to life in prison. As of April 2019, Joseph is still locked up. He will be for the rest of his hopefully shitty life. His health is declining and he doesn't want to live anymore. And that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving me the time of day by watching my video. I really appreciate it.